Have you ever wondered why some people seem to navigate life's challenges with ease, while others get stuck, even with the simplest decisions? The difference doesn't lie in luck, intelligence, or background. The real difference lies in one place: their mindset. Your mindset is the lens through which you interpret your reality. It determines how you face problems, how you relate to others, how you talk to yourself, and ultimately, how far you go in life. The good news is this: you can change it. Not just slightly, not temporarily, but deeply. The transformation of your mindset is the beginning of a new life. Not a perfect life. Not a life without conflict. But a life where you finally stop living on autopilot and start living with purpose. Where you are no longer driven by fear, past wounds, or self-doubt, but by clarity, intention, and inner strength. And you don't need to become someone else. You just need to return to who you were before the world told you who you had to be. This audiobook is not just a guide. It's a mirror, a reminder, a path. Here, you won't find hollow motivation or generic advice. You'll find questions that hurt, truths that awaken, and practices that build the foundation of a different life, one rooted in authenticity, commitment, and conscious evolution. You'll learn to observe your thought patterns without judgment. Identify the beliefs that hold you back. Break free from the inner critic that keeps you small. Rebuild your inner voice from self-respect and compassion. Activate daily habits that anchor your transformation. Surround yourself with an environment that uplifts you. Design a life aligned with your values and higher vision. But first, let me ask you something. Are you truly ready to let go of who you thought you were? To become who you were always meant to be? If your answer is yes, even if it's shaky, even if it scares you, then you've already started. Because every transformation begins with one brave decision: to no longer abandon yourself. And from this moment forward, this is your path. You walk it at your pace. You fall and rise. You doubt and continue. You let go. You learn. You become. Welcome to your transformation. Part 2: Understanding your thought patterns. Imagine for a moment that your mind is a vast, unexplored territory. Within its borders lie hidden treasures of insight and creativity, but also dangerous traps, mental shortcuts, emotional scars, and outdated beliefs. To navigate this terrain effectively, you must first become intimately familiar with it. And that journey begins with one essential skill: self-awareness. Self-awareness is the cornerstone of any lasting transformation. It's the ability to observe your own thoughts, emotions, and behaviors as if you were watching from outside, not to judge them, but to understand them. Most people go through life reacting automatically to whatever happens. They don't realize that their thoughts are repeating old narratives, many of which were never truly theirs to begin with. These narratives were absorbed unconsciously from parents, teachers, society, media, and over time, they became internal truths. Truths like, "I'm not good enough. I always mess things up. People will leave if I show my real self. It's safer to stay small." These thoughts may feel real, but that doesn't mean they're true. To begin transforming your mindset, you first have to observe how you think. One of the most powerful ways to do this is by practicing mindfulness. You don't need to become a monk or meditate for hours. You just need to learn to pause, even for a few minutes, and bring your attention inward. Sit quietly. Notice your thoughts without trying to change them. What themes come up? What do you tend to focus on? What judgments arise? This simple practice begins to reveal what has long been running in the background. You'll start to see patterns. Maybe you catastrophize small setbacks. Maybe you jump to conclusions. Maybe you constantly seek external validation. And just by noticing, you start loosening their grip. Another powerful tool is reflective journaling. Writing your thoughts down, without editing, without trying to sound wise or deep, creates a mirror for your inner world. Over time, you'll begin to notice the beliefs that shape your decisions, your fears, and your self-concept. You might discover that you're operating under rules you never consciously chose, and once you see them, you can choose to rewrite them. This process can be uncomfortable. Sometimes, becoming more aware means confronting parts of yourself that you've long ignored or hidden. But discomfort is not the enemy. In fact, it's a sign of growth. Growth is rarely easy. It requires courage. And you've already shown that courage by being here. As you explore your thought patterns, you'll also begin to notice something else: cognitive biases. These are mental shortcuts your brain takes to simplify decision-making, but they often lead you to distorted conclusions. For example, confirmation bias leads you to seek out information that confirms what you already believe, while ignoring what challenges it. Negativity bias makes you focus more on what went wrong than on what went right. The availability heuristic makes you overestimate the importance of things that are most recent or emotionally intense. Recognizing these biases is not about blaming yourself. It's about regaining your power. Because once you become aware of the lens through which you're viewing the world, you can start cleaning it. And here's something beautiful: self-awareness isn't about becoming someone else. It's about becoming more of who you truly are, underneath the noise, the fear, the conditioning. The deeper your awareness, the greater your capacity for conscious choice. You're no longer pushed around by automatic reactions, you respond with clarity. You're no longer trapped in outdated stories, you begin to write your own. This is where true transformation begins, not with doing more, but with seeing more. More clearly, more honestly, more compassionately. And from that place, everything changes. Part 3: Identifying and releasing limiting beliefs. To truly change your mindset from the root, you have to uncover what beliefs are shaping your reality, silently, constantly, and often without your permission. We're not talking about surface-level thoughts here. We're talking about the deep, hidden structures, the invisible programs running in the background of your mind that determine how you see yourself, others, and the world. Limiting beliefs are like invisible cages. They don't scream. They whisper. And yet they shape everything. Your confidence, your relationships, your income, your health, your creativity. Beliefs like, I don't deserve success. I always get abandoned. I have to prove my worth to be loved. Good things never last. If I try and fail, I'll be humiliated. These ideas aren't facts. But when you believe them, they become your truth, and your life reorganizes itself around them. It's like wearing dark lenses. You could be surrounded by opportunity, support, and love, and still feel like you're not enough. Because the lens isn't letting it in. But here's the power: beliefs can be rewritten. They are not permanent. They are not who you are. They are who you learned to be, to feel safe, accepted, in control, or simply to survive. So how do you change them? It starts with listening. Pay close attention to how you talk to yourself, especially when things go wrong. What do you say when you make a mistake? What do you feel when someone criticizes you? What story do you repeat when you're afraid? This internal dialogue holds the keys to your belief system. Most people are unaware of the words they use inside their own head, but those words are shaping their identity. Next, write them down. Get brutally honest. Let it all out. No filters. No edits. Just truth. Then take each belief and ask, who taught me this? Is it 100% true? Has it always been true? What evidence do I have for and against it? What belief would empower me instead? Let's say the belief is, I'm terrible at speaking in public. Ask yourself, did I fail once and decide that defines me forever? Have I had moments where I actually communicated well? What would happen if I chose to believe I could improve? What if fear is not a sign to stop, but a sign I care? Here's the truth. You don't need to be 100% confident to act. You need to act to build that confidence. You don't have to wait until you believe in yourself to begin. You just need to begin anyway, and the belief will follow. Limiting beliefs don't disappear overnight, but they lose their power the moment you stop obeying them. And yes, they will come back. They'll whisper in your ear when you're tired, stressed, or vulnerable. But now you have a choice. Listen and shrink, or notice and continue. That's freedom, not perfection, not never doubting again, but recognizing the voice of fear and choosing not to live by it. And here's something else. Most limiting beliefs are rooted in pain, in rejection, in shame, in failure, in fear. They were created by a younger version of you trying to stay safe. So don't hate them, don't fight them, understand them, thank them for trying to protect you, and then let them go. You're not that person anymore. You don't need that armor anymore. You don't need to prove anything. You just need to live from truth. And that truth begins with a new belief. I am not my past. I am the author of my present. In the next part, we'll explore how to ask powerful inner questions that guide you into even deeper alignment. Because your life isn't shaped by your answers. It's shaped by the questions you dare to ask yourself. Part 4. Activating powerful inner questions. There's a massive difference between reacting and responding. Most people live in reaction mode. That is, they operate on automatic pilot, repeating mental patterns without noticing. If someone criticizes them, they shut down or lash out. If things don't go their way, they get frustrated or give up. If an opportunity shows up, they doubt themselves. They move through life from impulse, fear, or habit, not from clarity. But you're here to live consciously, to move through life with intention. And one of the most powerful ways to begin doing that is to start asking yourself better questions. This may sound simple, but don't underestimate it. The questions you ask yourself every day shape your life. They direct your attention, your emotions, your energy, and your decisions. And most people don't even realize they're asking themselves disempowering questions all day long. Questions like, why does this always happen to me? What did I do wrong now? Why can't I ever get it right? What if I fail again? Why is life so unfair? These questions don't open your mind. They shut it down. They don't create possibilities. They reinforce your limitations. They keep you in the exact same cycle of fear, self-doubt, and paralysis. But what if you asked yourself something different? What if instead of, why can't I, you asked, what can I learn from this? What would I do right now if I trusted myself? What is this situation trying to show me? What skill do I need to develop to overcome this? What's one small action I can take today despite the fear? Can you feel the difference? A good question doesn't just invite an answer. It invites a new level of consciousness. Your mind is a powerful problem-solving machine. If you give it disempowering questions, it will give you disempowering answers. But if you feed it powerful, intentional questions, it will start searching for deeper truths, for clarity, for wisdom, for strength. Ask better questions and you create a better life. And here's the key. You don't need all the answers right away. You just need to keep asking. Keep listening. Keep being curious. Because curiosity opens what fear wants to keep closed. You may not solve everything today, but by shifting your questions, you've already changed the direction of your mind. And that shift, repeated over time, becomes a new way of living. These questions also change how you relate to yourself. You stop being a judge and become a guide. You stop punishing and start understanding. You stop silencing yourself and begin listening. Truly listening to what you need, to what you feel, to what you're becoming. Because inside you, there is wisdom. Not outside. Not in books or gurus. Inside. But to hear it, you must create space, stillness, silence, presence. When was the last time you sat with yourself, without distractions, and just asked, how am I really doing? What do I need to release? What do I need to forgive? What do I desire to create from here? The more you ask, the more you listen, the clearer your path becomes. Eventually, this practice becomes part of you. You walk through life not seeking answers from the world, but creating them from within. Not living reactively, but responding from your essence. Not being driven by fear, but guided by truth. Let this be your new habit. Before reacting, ask. Before judging, ask. Before giving up, ask. Ask with love. Ask with courage. Ask with faith. And remember, the quality of your life depends on the quality of the questions you dare to ask yourself every day. In the next part, we'll explore one of the most transformative aspects of this journey, the relationship you have with yourself, and how rebuilding it with compassion and respect can shift everything. Part 5. Rebuilding the relationship with yourself. There is one relationship that defines every other relationship in your life. The one you have with yourself. It's the foundation. It's the starting point. And whether you realize it or not, it's affecting everything. How you love, how you work, how you dream, how you live. If that inner relationship is based on guilt, shame, harshness, or neglect, it will show. It will leak into your decisions, your tone, your boundaries, or lack of them, and your entire sense of identity. Let's be honest. Most people treat themselves worse than they would ever treat someone they love. They speak to themselves with cruelty. They judge themselves without mercy. They hold themselves to impossible standards and then punish themselves for failing to meet them. They carry blame for things they did years ago, as if they deserve a lifelong sentence of self-hatred. But here's the truth. You cannot build a new life from a place of self-rejection. You can't grow from a place of punishment. You can't truly transform if your inner voice is your biggest enemy. Change begins with self-compassion. Self-compassion is not weakness. It's strength. It's not letting yourself off the hook. It's being honest without being cruel. It's not giving up. It's choosing to grow without tearing yourself apart. Think of someone you love. Someone you genuinely want to see thrive. How do you speak to them when they're hurting? What do you say when they fall short, when they feel lost, when they doubt themselves? Now ask, do I speak to myself that way? If the answer is no, you've found the place where your healing begins. To transform your mindset, you must transform your inner tone. You must stop being your own bully. You must stop confusing self-criticism with growth. You must stop abandoning yourself in the name of being realistic. And instead, start being kind without lying to yourself. Start being gentle without being passive. Start being firm without being cruel. Start being present, not just with others, but with you. One powerful practice to rebuild this relationship is self-check-ins. Every day, pause for a moment. Ask, how am I feeling right now? What do I need that I've been ignoring? What's one small thing I can do today to support myself? Another tool is mirror work. Look into your own eyes, really look, and say something kind, something true, something you needed to hear when you were younger. At first it might feel strange, emotional, but over time, this practice rewires your inner voice. Because your mind listens, your body listens, your heart listens, and every time you speak to yourself with care, you're building a new default setting, one that supports rather than sabotages. Self-love isn't just bubble baths and affirmations. It's hard choices. It's discipline. It's saying no. It's protecting your peace. It's letting go of what hurts you, even if it's familiar. Rebuilding your relationship with yourself is the most radical, life-changing act of power you can take. Because once you're on your own team, everything shifts. You stop tolerating disrespect. You stop chasing people who devalue you. You stop hiding your light to make others comfortable. You start walking differently, talking differently, choosing differently, and the world responds to that shift. Because when you respect yourself, you teach others how to treat you. When you value yourself, you attract what's aligned with that value. When you listen to yourself, you stop living in betrayal and start living in truth. So start today. Make a new agreement. From now on, I will not abandon myself. Not when things go wrong. Not when others disapprove. Not when I fall. Especially not then. You've spent enough time fighting yourself. It's time to return home. To become your own ally. Your own source. Your own safe place. Because only when you are whole inside, can you build a life that reflects that wholeness on the outside. In the next part, we'll dive into the power of commitment. How daily, intentional action can turn your mindset into a consistent way of life, even when things get hard. Part 6. The power of commitment. There's a moment in every transformation where inspiration fades. The excitement of starting something new begins to wear off. The doubts come back. The fears get louder. And everything inside you wants to go back to what's familiar. This is where most people quit. Not because they're weak. Not because they don't want it badly enough. But because they never learned what real commitment means. Commitment isn't a feeling. It's not something you rely on only when motivation is high. Commitment is a decision. A sacred contract you make with yourself and keep even on the days you don't feel like it. Anyone can show up when they're inspired, but real growth comes when you show up, especially when you're not. You said you wanted to change. You said you wanted to break patterns. You said you were tired of playing small. Now it's time to prove it, not to anyone else, but to yourself. So what does commitment actually look like? It looks like choosing yourself again and again, even after you've messed up. It looks like keeping your promises, especially the ones you make to yourself. It looks like doing the uncomfortable thing because you know your future self is watching. It looks like failing and trying again, not out of punishment, but out of respect for your process. Here's the truth. You will fall. You will have setbacks. You will have days when everything feels pointless. But the difference between those who transform and those who repeat is simple. The ones who transform don't abandon themselves when it gets hard. They breathe. They pause. They cry if they need to. And then they continue. Commitment also means saying no to what drains you, even if it once comforted you. It means stepping away from people, places, and patterns that pull you back into your old self. It means walking alone sometimes. It means silence. It means choosing your peace over their approval. And it means doing all of that not because it's easy, but because you've decided that you matter. Commitment is a quiet kind of power. It doesn't beg for attention. It doesn't need to post its progress. It's the energy behind the scenes, turning intentions into habits, and habits into identity. So how do you build it? Start small. Choose one thing, just one, that you will do for yourself every day no matter what. Maybe it's 5 minutes of reflection. Maybe it's one honest journal entry. Maybe it's preparing a nourishing meal. Maybe it's speaking one truth aloud. Whatever it is, honor it. Not because it's impressive, because it's evidence. Evidence that you're showing up. Evidence that you're not waiting to be perfect before you begin. Evidence that you're serious, not in a rigid way, but in a rooted way. And when you miss a day, forgive yourself. Then pick it back up. Not out of guilt, out of devotion. This is the path of self-leadership. And no one can walk it for you. But when you do walk it, imperfectly, consistently, with love, you become unstoppable. Because nothing is more powerful than a human being who has decided to stop abandoning themselves. Nothing. In the next part, we'll explore the importance of your environment, how the spaces, people, and energy you surround yourself with can either sustain your growth or sabotage it. Part 7. The influence of your environment. You can do all the inner work in the world: meditate, journal, reprogram your thoughts, build new habits. But if your environment is not aligned with who you're becoming, you'll feel resistance every step of the way. It's like trying to run forward with a rope tied around your waist, while someone or something keeps pulling from the other end. No matter how hard you try, you'll feel drained, stuck, frustrated. But because your environment is shaping you, whether you realize it or not. Most people underestimate this. They think their inner growth will automatically overpower the energy around them. But what surrounds you doesn't just reflect who you are. It reinforces who you stay. Your environment is not neutral. It's either supporting your transformation or sabotaging it. So stop and ask yourself, who do I spend most of my time with? What kinds of conversations am I having daily? What kind of energy do I allow into my space, my phone, my thoughts? Do the places I go nourish or deplete me? Do I feel expanded or restricted in my everyday life? These questions are not small. They are essential. Because if your environment is based on fear, gossip, chaos, judgment, or low expectations, it will be incredibly hard to live from love, clarity, purpose, and growth. Here's the hard truth. Sometimes, the people you love most are the ones who resist your growth the most. Not because they're bad, but because your evolution confronts their comfort. When you change, it shines a light on everything they've been avoiding. And that can be threatening. So what do? You don't need to cut everyone out of your life. You don't need to isolate or judge. But you do need to become intentional. You need to protect your energy the same way you protect your physical body. Would you drink something toxic every morning? Then why do you start your day by scrolling through chaos? Why do you have the same draining conversations that keep you stuck in old patterns? Why do you allow criticism, noise, or scarcity into your system every single day? You can't expect to feel empowered if everything around you is built to keep you disempowered. So start curating your environment. Little by little. Start with your digital space. Unfollow accounts that make you feel inferior or distracted. Follow voices that lift you, challenge you, inspire you. Clean your physical space. Let go of what doesn't reflect who you're becoming. Create beauty around you, even in simple ways. And most importantly, surround yourself with energy that reflects your new frequency. That might mean spending more time alone at first. That might mean becoming your own support system while the world catches up. That might mean walking away from what no longer resonates, even if it's familiar. Yes, it's uncomfortable. But comfort isn't the goal. Alignment is. And when you're aligned, your peace returns. Your clarity sharpens. Your nervous system relaxes. You stop fighting to grow, and you start growing naturally. Eventually, the right people come. People who see you not as who you were, but as who you're becoming. People who celebrate your evolution, not mock it. People who challenge you to stay true, not shrink to fit in. People who hold you accountable to your vision, not your fears. That's your tribe. That's your mirror. That's your new environment. So remember, you don't have to force your transformation anymore. You just have to create the conditions for it to thrive. And your environment is one of the most powerful conditions of all. In the next part, we'll close the first cycle of this journey. We'll gather everything you've learned so far and take a deeper look at the most important choice of all, deciding once and for all to live differently. Part 8, Choosing a New Life. You've come this far. You've faced your thoughts. You've uncovered your limiting beliefs. You've practiced new questions, rebuilt your inner voice, protected your energy, and begun showing up with new intention. And now, there's only one thing left to do. Because all the awareness in the world means nothing if you don't choose differently. You can't keep living with the old script and expect a new story to unfold. You can't keep repeating yesterday and expect tomorrow to look different. You can't keep holding on to who you were and become who you are meant to be. There comes a moment when clarity must meet courage. And that moment is now. You don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need a 5-year plan or complete confidence. You just need to decide. I will no longer live from fear. I will no longer delay my truth. I will no longer betray myself. This is not about making your life perfect. It's about making it yours. It's about deciding that from this point forward, you will choose action over excuses. You will choose alignment over approval. You will choose growth over comfort. You will choose self-respect over self-doubt. It won't always be easy. Your old identity will try to pull you back. Your mind will whisper familiar lies. Your body may resist change. And the world may not understand your shift. But that's okay. Because this time, you're not moving from external validation. You're moving from internal clarity. And that kind of decision changes everything. The truth is, your life is always being shaped by something, either by your past wounds or by your present vision, either by fear or by intention, either by your conditioning or by your commitment. You get to choose. So let today be the day you stop waiting. Waiting to feel ready. Waiting for permission. Waiting for the perfect moment. That moment is now. Start small if you must. But start. Start showing up as the version of you that you respect. Start speaking to yourself with the dignity you deserve. Start letting go of what no longer fits. Start stepping into rooms with your head high, not because you're better than anyone, but because you've finally remembered your worth. This is the moment you cross the line. From hesitation to action. From identity to essence. From survival to meaning. And no, you won't always do it perfectly, but you will do it differently. Because now, you've seen too much. You've remembered too much. You've awakened too much. There's no going back to sleep. So choose. Choose with your words. Choose with your boundaries. Choose with your habits. Choose with your relationships. Choose with your time. Choose with your thoughts. And every time you forget, just come back. Breathe. Remember. Begin again. Because this is your life. And now, it's finally starting to feel like yours. In the next part, we'll shift from the foundation to the deeper emotional work. How to heal your past without getting stuck in it, and why forgiveness is the key that unlocks your future. Part 9. Healing the past without getting stuck in it. You can't build a new life if you're still chained to the pain of your old one. You can try to push forward, set goals, create routines, change your habits. But if there's still a part of you living in a past wound, replaying a moment, a failure, a loss, a betrayal, you'll feel it pulling you back every time you try to move forward. And that pull won't come as a dramatic breakdown. It will come subtly, in the voice that says, "You're not enough." In the fear that whispers, "This will happen again." In the shame that tells you, "You don't deserve more." That's why healing isn't optional. It's essential. But healing doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean pretending it didn't happen. It doesn't mean excusing what was never okay. Healing means facing the wound with compassion instead of judgment. It means making peace with what hurt, so it no longer controls who you become. It means holding your younger self, the one who didn't know better, who only had survival, and letting them know, "You're safe now. You made it through. You don't have to keep protecting me with fear." This is where transformation turns into liberation. But how do you begin? You start by telling the truth. Your truth. Not the one they told you to believe. Not the one that keeps the peace. Not the one that makes others comfortable. But the real one, raw, messy, human. What happened hurt. You were confused. You felt abandoned, ashamed, silenced, judged, invisible. You don't need to dramatize it. You just need to acknowledge it. Because what's not acknowledged stays. It hides in your reactions. It leaks into your relationships. It shapes your limits. But once you bring it to light, not to blame, but to understand, you start regaining your power. And once the truth is seen, comes the hardest part, forgiveness. Not for them. For you. Forgiveness doesn't mean they were right. It means you are no longer willing to carry the weight of their actions. Forgiveness is not a favor to the past. It's a commitment to your future. And sometimes, the person you need to forgive most is yourself. For what you didn't know. For what you tolerated. For the years you stayed quiet. For the ways you tried to earn love by betraying yourself. And forgiving yourself doesn't mean you're letting yourself off the hook. It means you finally understand that you were doing the best you could with the awareness and tools you had at the time. And now, you have more. Now, you get to choose differently. Here's a powerful practice. Write a letter to the version of you that lived through that moment. Tell them what you now know. Tell them they weren't crazy. Tell them they weren't weak. Tell them you're proud. Tell them they can rest now. And when the pain returns, as it might, because healing is not linear, don't panic. You're not back at zero. You're just visiting an old part of yourself with new eyes. This time, you don't abandon them. You stay. Because every time you choose to stay, with presence, with compassion, with softness, something inside you releases. And you move forward a little lighter, a little clearer, a little more whole. You don't erase the past. You reclaim your power over it. And that changes everything. In the next part, we'll explore what happens when you stop focusing only on your own path and start using your growth to serve others. Because the highest form of healing is sharing your light. Part 10, The Power of Service, Growing Through Impact. At some point in every true journey of transformation, you realize something profound. This healing is not just for me. Yes, you started this path to feel better, to change your life, to stop suffering. You began because you were tired of living in fear, in confusion, in disconnection. But once you start to rise, once you begin to embody this new energy, you feel something awaken inside you, the call to give. And this is where growth becomes expansion, where personal transformation becomes impact, where healing becomes service. But let's be clear, serving doesn't mean becoming a guru. It doesn't mean fixing others. It doesn't mean giving up your own needs to be helpful. True service is quiet, humble, grounded. It means choosing to share what you've learned, not to be admired, but to be useful. It means showing up with your story, your scars, your lessons, so that someone else doesn't feel so alone in theirs. Sometimes, service is just presence. Sometimes, it's a listening ear. Sometimes, it's saying, "I've been there too," and meaning it. Sometimes, it's creating something beautiful that gives others hope. Sometimes, it's simply living your truth so fully that you give others permission to live theirs. This kind of service doesn't drain you. It fuels you because it comes from overflow, not obligation. When you serve from an overflowing cup, from alignment, from authenticity, something magical happens. You grow even more. Because now, your transformation isn't theoretical. It's real. It's embodied. It's lived. And when you teach, when you share, when you hold space, you're also reminded of everything you've integrated. It deepens your integrity. It anchors your path. It strengthens your commitment. And you don't have to be done to be of service. You don't have to have all the answers. You just have to be willing to be real. Because what the world needs most is not perfection. It's presence. It's truth. It's heart. There is someone out there right now struggling with what you've already overcome. What if your journey, your pain, your learning, your story could be the map they need? That's the power of service. And it doesn't have to be big. You don't have to build a movement or lead thousands. Sometimes the greatest act of service is being kind to your child when you're exhausted, or staying calm when someone else is panicking, or sharing your truth with one person who needed to hear it. Because impact isn't about scale. It's about energy. It's about presence. It's about intention. When you live with intention, you're already changing the world. And slowly, this becomes your way of being. You wake up not just for you, but for the space you hold, for the love you give, for the energy you bring into every room, every moment. This is the ultimate shift. From seeking meaning to being the meaning. You become someone others feel safe around, not because you're perfect, but because you're real. You become someone who elevates spaces, not by force, but by frequency. You become someone who leads, not with power, but with presence. And the more you live this way, the more you realize. The question is no longer, what can I get from the world? The question is, what can I give to it from who I've become? In the next part, we'll bring it all together. We'll explore how to design a life of purpose, one that aligns with your values, your truth, and your vision. Part 11. Designing a life of purpose. There comes a moment in every transformational journey when you begin to ask a new kind of question. Not just, how can I fix myself? Not just, how can I stop suffering? But something deeper. How do I want to live? What kind of life am I truly here to create? And this is where your transformation stops being reactive and becomes intentional. You're no longer just trying to get away from pain, fear, or dysfunction. You're ready to move towards something, to build, to align, to create a life that actually reflects your values, your energy, your truth. This is what it means to design a life of purpose. And no, purpose doesn't mean one big mission that you have to discover or stress about. It's not a job title. It's not something you're given. It's something you choose moment by moment through how you live, how you love, and how you show up. A life of purpose is a life lived on purpose, deliberately, consciously, in alignment with who you really are. It doesn't mean everything is always perfect. It means that even when it's messy, it's meaningful. So how do you start designing a life like that? You begin by getting radically honest about what matters to you. Not what's impressive, not what's expected, not what your past self wanted, but what your present self knows is true. Sit with that. Ask, what do I want to feel every single day? What am I no longer willing to tolerate? What lights me up even when I'm tired? What am I drawn to even when it makes no sense? What kind of relationships nourish me? What does freedom look like for me, emotionally, spiritually, physically? Let your answers surprise you. Let them shift. Let them evolve as you do. You're not designing a cage. You're designing a living, breathing expression of your soul. And yes, you'll need to make changes. Small ones, big ones, silent ones, brave ones. Because once you start designing from truth, everything that was built on fear begins to feel heavy. This is part of the process. You may lose people. You may outgrow spaces. You may no longer fit where you once felt safe. But that's not loss. That's alignment. A tree doesn't apologize for outgrowing its pot. Neither should you. As you start making these shifts, you'll feel resistance. From others. From your habits. From your own nervous system. That's natural. Purpose doesn't feel like excitement all the time. Sometimes it feels like grief. Because you're letting go of a version of you that got you this far, but can't take you further. So honor that. Mourn if you need to. And then keep walking. Because a life of purpose isn't built overnight. It's built one choice at a time. One yes to what feels aligned. One no to what feels false. One pause before you react. One deep breath before you agree to something that disconnects you. And eventually, your entire life begins to take shape. Not from a checklist, but from coherence. Your work feels alive. Your days feel honest. Your relationships feel mutual. Your body feels listened to. Your mind feels clear. Your spirit feels anchored. This doesn't mean every day is bliss, but it means that even on the hard days, you're still in the right place. You're still you, not perfect, but whole. And when you live this way, you stop chasing meaning because you become it. You become someone others trust without words. Someone who walks differently. Someone who doesn't need to convince or prove because you radiate alignment. And this creates ripple effects. When you live with purpose, you remind others they can too. You stop contributing to the noise of anxiety, pressure, comparison, and instead, you become a lighthouse, still, steady, sincere. So what does a purpose-driven life look like in practice? It looks like saying no with love, saying yes with intention, resting without guilt, creating without approval, listening to your intuition, prioritizing peace over performance, being fully human, not just productive. It looks like choosing every day to come back to yourself, especially when the world pulls you in every direction. And that's the beauty of this process. You don't need to escape your life to live with purpose. You just need to return to it, with awareness, with care, with presence. The life you want doesn't exist in some distant future. It's built here, in your choices, in your energy, in your devotion. And you are ready. In the next part, we'll talk about something most people avoid: how to reinvent yourself again and again as you keep evolving. Because growth isn't a destination, it's a lifelong rhythm. Part 12, Reinventing Yourself Again and Again. There's a myth in personal growth that says once you heal, you'll be done. Once you awaken, everything will make sense. Once you figure yourself out, you'll finally reach a state of perfect clarity and alignment, forever. But that's not how transformation works. Because you are not a machine. You are not a problem to solve. You are a living, evolving being. And growth is cyclical. It spirals. It returns. It expands. And sometimes, it breaks you open again. Not because you're failing, but because you're ready for more. So let go of the illusion that you're supposed to arrive somewhere and stay there. That's not evolution. That's stagnation. The truth is, you are meant to reinvent yourself again and again. Each season of life will ask for a different version of you. Not because the old one was wrong, but because it's complete. There are identities that served you. There are goals that shaped you. There are relationships that awakened you. There are dreams that carried you. And now, it may be time to release them. This doesn't mean you're being ungrateful. It means you're being honest. Because clinging to what no longer fits, just because it once did, is one of the greatest forms of self-betrayal. So what does reinvention look like? It begins with listening, not to the noise of the world, but to the subtle shifts inside you. You feel it in your body, in your restlessness, in your fatigue, in your cravings for something different, something deeper. You might not have the words for it yet, but you know something's changing, and that's your signal. The same way nature doesn't resist the next season, you don't have to resist your next becoming. Let it come. Let it stretch you. Let it soften you. Let it show you the parts you've outgrown. Reinvention also means letting go of roles that no longer serve you. The achiever, the fixer, the pleaser, the strong one, the invisible one, the one who always has it together. You don't owe the world a consistent identity. You owe yourself the freedom to evolve. And that means giving yourself permission to be new, to be different, to not make sense to others anymore. Yes, people will question it. Yes, some may fall away. Yes, you'll feel doubt. But that's the cost of shedding your past, and the price of becoming your truth. And here's what most won't tell you. Reinvention can feel like grief. You'll grieve the old version of you. You'll grieve what you once wanted. You'll grieve the comfort of what was known, even if it no longer fits. Let yourself grieve, and then breathe, because on the other side of that release is something extraordinary, the spaciousness to create again. You're not starting over. You're starting deeper, with more wisdom, more clarity, more reverence for your path. You're not behind. You're realigning. And when you walk into your next chapter, you don't need to bring every piece of the last one. Only what still feels true. Only what still feels alive. Only what serves who you are becoming. Reinvention is not a crisis. It's a return to what's always been within you, waiting. So be brave enough to begin again, even if your voice shakes, even if your hands tremble, even if no one claps, because your life is your masterpiece, and every brushstroke counts. In the next and final part, we'll anchor this whole journey in one powerful message: what it means to live with intention every single day. Because the real transformation isn't just in who you become, it's in how you live. Part 13. Living with intention every day. You've come a long way. You've faced the truth of your thoughts. You've dissolved old beliefs. You've chosen growth over comfort. You've remembered who you are beneath all the noise. You've created new habits, embraced self-compassion, healed old wounds, and opened your heart to the possibility of something more. And now there's just one thing left: to live, not someday, not perfectly, but now, and with intention, because transformation is not something you do once. It's something you live, breath by breath, choice by choice. And intention is what turns that breath into purpose. What does it mean to live with intention? It means you are aware of what you're doing and why you're doing it. You no longer live on autopilot, reacting, rushing, distracting. You choose to pause, to feel, to respond, to create, to rest, to reconnect. Living with intention means your life becomes a reflection of your values, not your fears. You stop being run by old scripts, by inherited pressure, by survival patterns that once served you but now suffocate you. You reclaim your day, your hour, your moment, and in that moment you decide to speak truth, not convenience, to move your body not to punish it but to honor it, to say yes from your heart, not your guilt, to say no from your clarity, not your fear, to rest when needed, to act when aligned, to forgive when ready, to feel deeply without shame, to create not to impress, but to express. This is the sacred rhythm of intention. You no longer chase one big goal to define your worth. You realize that the real goal is how you show up in the small things. How you drink your coffee, how you look at the sky, how you greet a stranger, how you speak to your own reflection, how you walk into rooms, how you return to yourself when the world pulls you out. Because those small things shape who you are. And who you are becomes what you give to the world. Living with intention also means you are present with your process. You don't rush it. You don't compare it. You don't measure it by someone else's timeline. You honor it. You understand that some days you will feel clear, confident, inspired, and some days you will feel lost, tired, heavy. Both are valid. Both are sacred. Both are part of the rhythm. Living with intention doesn't mean being high energy all the time. It means being conscious, no matter your energy. It means loving yourself on the days you shine, and on the days you collapse. Because this is your life. Message. Beautiful. Evolving. And every day you get to shape it. Not just with your to-do list, but with your way of being. Let this be your quiet revolution. To live slowly in a world that rushes. To feel deeply in a world that numbs. To speak truthfully in a world that hides. To walk softly but fiercely. To protect your joy. To listen to your soul. To lead yourself first. And to remember You are the creator of your life, not the product of your past. You don't need more tips. You don't need to be fixed. You don't need to earn your worth. You just need to keep returning to presence, to breath, to what's real, to what matters, to you. This is not the end. This is the beginning of a new way of living, of walking with your eyes open, your heart soft, your mind clear, and your spirit free. So go. Not in fear, not in expectation, but in intention. Every day, in every step, with every choice, you are ready, and your life is already changing. Part 13. Living with intention every day. This isn't about being perfect. It never was. It's about being present with yourself, your truth, your rhythm. Because in a world that constantly demands more, faster, louder, living with intention is revolutionary. Living with intention means waking up and remembering that your energy is sacred, that you don't owe anyone your conformity, that you were not born to repeat, obey, impress, or survive. You were born to feel, to create, to connect, to remember, and to live each day as an expression of who you really are. That doesn't mean your days will always be smooth. It doesn't mean you'll always know exactly what to do. But it means you'll be awake, not sleepwalking through your own life. Living with intention means you make decisions based on values, not wounds. It means you speak with purpose, not reaction. It means you slow down when the world wants you to rush. You listen when the noise wants to distract you. You breathe when pressure tells you to panic. You return to yourself when fear tries to take the wheel. Because this is your life, not theirs, not society's, not your past's, yours. And every single day is a canvas. What colors will you use? What energy will you paint with? What story will your choices tell? It's not about being grand. Sometimes living intentionally is silent. It's sitting with your emotions instead of numbing them. It's saying no when every pattern tells you to say yes. It's resting when the world would rather see you burn out. It's starting something new even when you're scared. It's walking away from something safe to be somewhere true. Living intentionally is choosing truth over ease, even when it costs you comfort. It's trusting that your inner voice matters more than anyone else's opinion. And most importantly, it's coming back. Because you will forget. You will fall back into habits. You will doubt yourself. That's not failure. That's human. The power lies in how quickly you remember. How fast you catch yourself and say, "No, that's the old me. I choose again." You choose compassion over self-hate. You choose boundaries over resentment. You choose reflection over reaction. You choose peace over performance. And little by little, your life becomes something that feels like home. Not a performance, not a prison, but a place where you're safe to be all of you. The wild you, the tender you, the evolving you, the whole you. And when you live from that place, you don't just transform yourself. You give others permission to do the same. You show your children, your friends, your community that there's another way. A way rooted in honesty, in softness, in courage, in love. That's how change ripples. Not through force, but through alignment. This is the gift of intention. It doesn't need to be loud. It just needs to be real. So take this with you. You don't have to prove your worth. You don't have to hustle for love. You don't have to hold it all together. You don't have to be the same every day. You just have to show up honestly. Some days that means being fierce. Some days that means being still. Some days that means falling apart and starting over. Every day, it means choosing yourself. You've spent enough time living according to expectations. Now, you get to live on your terms. This is not a blueprint. This is not a checklist. This is an invitation to live with full presence. To turn the ordinary into something sacred. To turn your breath into prayer. to turn your day into devotion, to turn your life into a legacy of integrity. So live as if your soul chose this body. Live as if your voice is meant to be heard. Live as if your softness is a strength. Live as if your time is precious, because it is. This is not the end. This is the beginning of a different kind of life. A life where nothing is wasted, where everything matters, where you are not rushing to the future or clinging to the past, but anchored here. And from here, everything is possible.